So let's see, where do we want to... Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. It must have been because of all the glare from these diamonds around me. If you joined us last time, you know that we ended the episode by going branch mining, and I found a ton of diamonds. I made this full set of diamond armor, made some diamond tools, and I had enough left over that I just decided I would turn it into blocks and decorate it, because what else am I going to do? In fact, I don't even need these. I've got so many diamonds, I can afford to just throw them away. Okay, I'm not going to throw them away because I don't want those to despawn. And we're back. Okay, so in all seriousness, we are going to be making a bunch of farms today. In fact, we're going to be making 6 different farms. Holy cow, that's a lot of farms. Now, to be fair, 4 of them are actually going to be the same. They're just going to be different crops, but it sounds more impressive to say 6. So the first farm that we're going to work on is going to be a sugarcane farm. I promised you early on that all of this sugarcane that I put by the river was just kind of a temporary place so I could make some paper. And I was going to eventually create a permanent home for it somewhere else. So that's what we're going to start on today. So sugarcane can grow 3 or 4 blocks tall. It can get pretty tall. So I think I'm going to actually sink this sugarcane farm down into the ground a little bit. And I want to create a sort of, I don't know, like Japanese garden sort of feel. Like have something that has sort of a path going through it. And so I'm actually thinking of putting it right here, right in front of my house. I may come to regret this because when it's at its full height, it may block some of the view of what's behind it. But I think it'll look really nice here. Now, I already kind of sketched this out on paper to get the dimensions. And what I came up with was going to be 18 blocks long by 8 blocks wide. And it's going to have a wall around it, so I need to extend that by 1 in each direction. So I need an area that's going to be 20 by 10. And since I want it to be sunken down, I need to dig out a little bit more out over here and then fill in the rest around it with grass. So let me do that really quick and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's what we've got. So I had to raise the ground around this area a little bit because even though it was at the level that I wanted for the actual sugarcane, I want the sugarcane to be sunken, and so I needed the ground around it raised up. I put in this border of spruce, and then there's a step down into the actual sugarcane garden. Now, each of these little troughs needs to be filled with water because sugarcane has to be adjacent to water for it to grow. So we're going to fill all this in, and one of the nice things with water is once you have 2 or 3 water sources next to each other, it becomes, you get an infinite source of water. So I can just start scooping from here and it'll fill back in with water, and so I don't need to keep running back and forth to the river to fill this in. So I'm going to fill in all of these troughs with water, and then we'll be ready to go on to the next step. Alright, so I've got all the troughs filled in with water. Now the blocks where the sugarcane is actually going to sit are grass blocks. This could be dirt, it could be grass, it could be coarse dirt, it could be sand. You have a lot of different options. I like the way that the grass looks under the sugarcane, and especially since we're going for sort of this Zen garden feel, I thought that would be nice here. So I don't want to have to like jump in and out of this water or jump over it or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some slabs over this, and you can actually put a slab over a source water block. You can't put it over flowing water, but you can put it over a source water block, and the water will actually stay in that block. So by putting slabs on top of each of these, they still have water in them, and we can still plant the sugarcane next to them. Alright, so we've got all the water covered up. Now we just need to put our sugarcane in, and this is just as easy as dropping the sugarcane right next to each of the water blocks. Alright, so I got all the sugarcane put in, and yeah, I think it looks pretty nice. All in all, this took about 75 or 80 sugarcane. So once it grows 2 or 3 levels high, we'll get 75 or 150 sugarcane when we go around and harvest this. And it's pretty easy since there's no walls or anything. You can run through this whole thing. We just point forward and just hold down the left mouse button and just run around, and it just chops down all the sugarcane. So this thing will take like 30 seconds to harvest when it's done. Now, last thing, I'm going to put some finishing touches on this. I'm going to go around and raise up each of these corners and edges by 1. And then I'm going to fill in between with spruce fences. And there we have it. That was a quick and easy build. This thing actually took longer to plan than it did to execute. So there's our sugarcane farm, and I think this is going to look really nice when we come out of the house and we see this thing. There's sugarcane growing up, and because we've got the path going through it, we can now go through here to get to other things that we're going to build on this side. So I think this turned out really nice. So there's farm number 1 already taken care of. All right, so our next couple of farms, like I said, they're all really going to be the same thing. We're going to take all of the crops that we got from both from the wheat from starting out and the carrots, beetroot, and potatoes that we found in the village last episode, and we're going to make separate farms for each of these. Now, I went ahead and planted the carrots, beetroot, and potatoes to try to grow more. The potatoes are taking off. The carrots and the beetroot are a little bit slower going. So I'm going to take all of these up and we're going to relocate them over by the sugar cane. So our little farm here has done us wonders. It's been great for getting started, but we've just outgrown it. We need more space than we've got over here. I've got some trees growing over there, so I think I'm just going to turn this into more of a tree farm. And we'll move the crops somewhere else so we have more space to expand. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. So eventually I'm going to have a path or a road that goes straight through here, and we'll do some other builds off there in the distance. But I think I'm going to have all the agricultural stuff over here to the right. So we've already got our sugarcane farm in place. So we're going to go through here. I'll have a little bit of a path maybe, and I think this is where we're going to put all of our fields. So I need to clear out these trees and do a little bit more terraforming and get this ready to plant. And I'm going to do something crazy. Since we're going to make such a big field, my stone hoe that I started out with, it's on its last leg. It's not going to cut it. Since we've got so many diamonds, I'm going to make a diamond hoe. Oh yeah. I think there's actually an achievement for completely using up a diamond hoe, but I don't think we'll get there today. Alright, so I cleared out all the trees in this area. I filled in the water that was over there, and I cleaned up the hillside a little bit, but I'm still trying to decide where I want these fields to go. So I've got 4 different crops. Each one's going to have their own field. I'm thinking that I'm going to take this path and just kind of curve it around here and maybe flatten all this out to this level, and that'll be one field over here. And then this side, maybe up to about here or so, will be another field. And then maybe take the hills up here and kind of split it down the middle. And I'll have a field on one side for one crop and a field on the other side for the other crop. So I don't want it to be too like four-square-ish. I want it to feel a little bit organic. But that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I think it'll also look nice having different levels for the different fields. Kind of the lower level down here, the level that I'm at right now for this one, and then the other 2 fields on the hills. I think that'll look good. So let me take a crack at that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I finished landscaping this area. Put up some retaining walls up here because if you fall from higher than 1 block onto tilled ground, it turns back into dirt. And I've had problems in the past with just random spawns, cows, skeletons, whatever, walking down off of these ledges onto the crops. And so I put up these walls to prevent that from happening. And so I've got 4 areas where we're going to plant stuff. And I didn't plan for this, it just kind of happened and I liked it. Each one's at a slightly different level. And so I think that's going to look really nice once we have all these crops in here. I don't think they're all about the same size, but if we end up getting more crops from one of the fields than the others, then we can just end up kind of rotating them each time we harvest them. So it's not a big deal. right, so before we go tilling the ground, we need to put some water down, because if you till ground and it's not near a water source, then it's just going to dry up and turn back into dirt. And we don't want that happening, so we need to put down some water sources. Now down here, most of this field is close enough to the river to irrigate it, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do need some water back here, because the water only waters up to 4 blocks away. So we'll just do a spot here. Let's see, we'll do probably a spot here will be good. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're gonna need something over here as well. We'll put one here, right in the middle. That should be good. So that should irrigate this entire bottom section. And now we need to do something up here. So I don't want this to look too perfect. Like, I don't want to measure out every 4 blocks have a water source. I want it to look kind of natural and just sort of haphazard and unintentional. So it may not be the most efficient plotting layout, but I think it'll look nice, which is what I'm more concerned with anyways. Now I still need to put some water in on the top, but I'm going to go ahead and start tilling all this, because it'll give me an indication of whether or not I missed any spots. And so if any of this tilled ground turns back into dirt, then I know it's too far away from water and I need to put down another water block somewhere. All right, so we've got the land tilled, we've got the water put in, we've got the water covered. Now we can start putting our crops in. So I'm going to put, I think I'm going to put wheat in this bottom field, because it's going to grow the tallest, and this one is the lowest. And so if we put it up top, I think it's going to stick up too much and not look very good. But again, we can always rotate the crops if we need to. So you might be wondering, why do we need so many crops? These are some big fields. We're going to get a lot of crops out of them. Why do we need that much? It's certainly not going to be for food. So we've got cows, we've got beef for that. So the reason that I want so many crops is to trade with farmer villagers. So later we're going to get some farmer villagers, and they will buy different types of crops in exchange for emeralds. And then you can use those emeralds to in turn buy other things from other villagers. And so having lots of crops and a couple of farmer villagers is a good way to just have a steady supply of emeralds for trading. Okay, so we planted our crops. We didn't have enough to completely fill up the fields, but that's okay. As soon as this one harvest comes in, we'll have plenty, and we'll be able to fill them all in, and that will get us going for crops for the rest of the game, really. Alright, so that means that there's only one farm left to cover today, and that's actually going to be way over here. I don't want this farm near my base, actually. I want it as far away as I can, with it still being within the simulation distance. So I've cleared that little spot here at the end of the river for this build. Don't worry about this thing over here. This is just a redstone clock that I set up to see if this was within the simulation distance of my base. Basically just sends a redstone signal round and round and round and lights up this redstone lamp. And if you get too far away, then the game will stop simulating it. It'll get unloaded. When you come back in and it gets loaded again, it's broken because it stopped ticking. And so by going away and coming back and seeing that it's still ticking, it means that it is within the simulation distance. That's the good news, is it is close enough to my base to still be within the simulation distance, so that what we do here will simulate while we're at our base. The bad news is, like, the back half of my house is just outside the simulation distance. So like if I go back to the chests and the crafting area, it breaks. But that's okay, because we're not going to spend the entire game in the back half of my house. And it doesn't need to be loaded all the time. So this is fine. It's fine. All right, so what are we going to be building here? Well, our last farm is actually going to be a villager farm. That was one of the reasons that I was so anxious to go exploring and find a village last time, was I need to bring some of those villagers back here so I can start breeding them up into a villager farm. But before we can bring them, we need somewhere to put them, so we need to build a little structure here to keep our villagers safe. So I came over here and did a little bit of terraforming ahead of time to clear out a big enough space for this. I needed, I think it was 18 by 18 for this build. And I went ahead and marked with some coarse dirt where where part of the structure is going to be. But before we get started, it is almost nighttime and I don't want to deal with the mobs, so we're going to sleep. Okay, so this structure is going to be built out of, the outside is going to be built out of spruce and birch, specifically stripped birch. So I'll do one side in its entirety here so you can see what we're doing, and then I'll go ahead and build up the rest. So I'm going to do spruce logs for the columns, and then I will do birch logs going in between like this. And then to strip it, you just use your axe, you right click on it rather than left clicking to chop it. And that will just strip off the outside. I think the stripped birch with the spruce looks really nice together. And then we're going to fill this in with glass. I like having lots of windows in my builds. I like being able to see in from the outside and out from the inside. So the whole inside of this thing is going to be glass so we can see into it. Okay, so I'm going to reproduce this for all the sides. So each corner is going to be a four blocks long, then there will be 6 blocks in the middle, and then another 4 blocks. And it's just going to be a giant square. So we'll do this all the way around. Alright, so we finished the walls, and you may notice that there's something missing, and that would be a way out. That's intentional. This is our home now. This is where we're going to spend the rest of the game. There is no leaving. No, just kidding. So obviously I need to keep the villagers in here. I don't want them getting out, so we can't just have a hole in the wall. And villagers can open doors, and so we don't want to put some oak doors or spruce doors or something in here. One alternative would be to use iron doors, because they can't open those. You have to open them with a switch or a button or something, which they can't activate. But yeah, let's just not worry about that for now, because we're going to be working inside. So I will add a way out eventually. But for now, let's work on the top. We need a roof for this thing. I don't want mobs getting on top or spawning on top at night and falling in. We need to mob-proof this thing. We also don't want lightning striking the villagers because that would turn them into witches, which would be very bad. So we need a covering for this thing. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need to get up on top of this thing. So that's one way out, so we can just nerd pull our way out. Yeah, so I don't want like a vaulted roof on this thing. I think that would look silly, and I don't want a flat roof or a dome. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use mostly leaves and create like a, I don't know, sort of an arboretum feel to this. And so this is mostly going to be leaves, but every now and then I'm going to put in some spruce fences as well. I think those will look like terraces or trellises or whatever they're called, sort of holding this thing up. So this is going to take a little while, but I am going to sort of inlay it by one, and some of these in the middle will kind of go up a little bit more, so it's going to kind of create a dome look, but not really be a dome, if that makes sense. It'll come together in the end, trust me, you'll see. Now once you get this started, you can do most of the work inside from the ground. So I'm going to do that just to avoid having to keep getting up and down again. But eventually I'm going to have to go back up to add some more height to this thing. Dude, if that creeper falls in here and blows up my hard work, I'm gonna be so mad. Okay, so I have finished with the ceiling, and I love the way that this looks. I think it's really nice. It's very natural looking. Not natural in the sense that it could have grown on its own, but it just sort of, I think it helps it sort of blend into the environment a lot more. And it's a nice, good, flat roof without being completely flat. So yeah, I really like this roof for this thing. So we are completely boxed in now, which is okay because we're still working on the inside. So what this thing is going to look like on the inside is there's going to be a big garden in the middle for the villagers to plant crops and harvest crops. And then around the outside will be some stone and beds. So we're going to work on this stone. So I like these stone bricks. They make a really good ground texture for this sort of build. And I also like to mix in some cracked stone bricks. So I don't think this is going to be enough. We're going to need to make up some more. So the stone bricks are made by simply combining 4 stone in a crafting table, and then you get 4 stone bricks. So it's a 1-to-1. That's really good. I think you can also make them on the stone cutter, but since I'm making these in bulk, then this is going to be fine. And the cracked stone bricks take a little bit more work. You have to actually cook those up in the furnace. So we'll drop some of these in the furnace and get those cooking up, and we'll come back and get them in a little bit. All right, so the brick is going to come out from the wall 3 blocks. So I'm going to dig a little trench all the way around that's 3 blocks wide. And then we'll come back in and start filling it in with stone. And we'll mix in some cracked stone every here and there. We don't want to go crazy with the cracked stone. It's just meant to add a little bit of variety, break up the monotony, make it look nice. All right, so finish the bricks around the outside, and it's important that you do 3 deep. These are where the beds are going to go, and villagers will walk up on the beds and it kind of pops them up into the air, and so if they land next to the bed and that's tilled earth, then it's going to turn it back into soil. You're going to get a bunch of broken soil throughout the garden. So making it 3 deep just adds an extra layer of brick that gives you that protection from accidentally jumping onto or landing on the tilled soil. So we're going to make 4 3x3 plots inside here. So we go 1, 2, 3. When I say 3x3, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, sorry. Did my math wrong. It'll be 4 5x5 plots because this is 10x10. Yeah. Ignore me. So I need to poke a hole in the wall here so I can get some more water. So we'll do 3 in from that corner, 3 in from this corner. Do the other 2 corners. And then we can put our wall back. Okay, so we're going to till all this. And for the last step, I should have done this before I tilled it because I'm going to have to put some temporary blocks down. We want to cover these water holes with composters. The composters will cause the villagers to claim them as a job site and turn them into farmer villagers. And doing this over the water serves the dual purpose of also keeping them from falling into the water and popping up and landing on the soil. So I'll put a composter there to keep them from accidentally hitting this and popping up like that. We're also going to put a slab on top of that, so it's now 1.5 blocks tall, and then they can't hop up on top of it. So we'll do this over all 4 water holes. Come on, buddy. Get out of there. There you go. And to put the slab on top of the composter, you are going to have to crouch and use, otherwise it will think that you're trying to use the composter, and it won't work. Okay, so we have finished the inside. Right now I've just put torches everywhere to light it up to keep mobs from spawning. I'm okay with the ones on the walls. I don't like these ones on the ground. I'll probably come in later and put maybe some lanterns hanging from the roof so the middle is lit up, but for now it's fine. So now we need to talk about how we're going to get the villagers in here and how we're going to get out. So like I said, we could use iron doors that we can toggle on and off, and the villagers can't. But I don't like the way the iron door looks with the wood and the glass and stone and everything. So what I'm going to do is knock out 2 of these stripped birch logs, and I'm going to create like a little water entrance. And this is going to come in... buddy, hey, you can't swim. Come back here. Stay. Yeah, so I think that should be good. Yeah, Yeah, I'm gonna go back 2 more just to be safe. Okay, so we've got a little water entrance. Now villagers can get out this way, so we need to close it up somehow. So I'm going to use trapdoors for this. And how this is going to work is the trapdoors, we can open and close them, but I don't think the villagers can. I haven't completely tested this, so I could be 100% wrong, but I don't think the villagers can open and close this. Sorry, I am really bad with trapdoors. The placement's always confusing. So I want these to open up and these to open down. So to get this one to open up, you have to put it on the bottom of the block above it. So you have to get down there and aim for the bottom of that glass pane and then place it. Okay, so now we have an entrance that we can open and get in and out. And we can actually do this from inside a boat. So we're in the boat, we can open this thing, and we can actually get the boat out there because the window panes are not considered a full block and you can pass through, you can pass under them. And the fact that your head goes through the window panes is completely irrelevant. Minecraft doesn't care. So that's really cool. So this will allow us to get villagers in and out without letting them in and out on their own. So I'm going to leave Buddy there and we're going to go get us some villagers. Alright, so we are back at this village that I found last episode and we just need to snag a couple of villagers, and unfortunately we have to do this one at a time. It's a big pain. This thing was a lot farther away from my base than I remembered, but it's mostly by water, which is great because transporting villagers by water is super easy with a boat. So I've got one trapped in here. He's jobless. That's perfect. We'll start with him. So what I'm going to do is put a boat down first and then let him out. Nope, not you. I don't want a nitwit. I do not want a nitwit. And we'll try to lure this guy out. Come on. Come on. Come on, little guy. It's okay. And we can nudge. Oh, come on. Seriously? It's not nighttime. Why are you sleeping? Alright, we'll try again in the morning. Not you, nitwit. Fortunately, I have a second boat. So, there, I think. Yeah, I think he's trapped. If we push this. No? Come on, get in the boat. There we go. Now he's in the boat. So this is what's nice about transporting villagers by boat. You can actually row across land. It's really slow, but I'm going to get my other boat. Get the nitwit out of there. Try not to hit him because I don't want the wrath of the iron golem to come down upon me. Okay. So this is the best way to transport villagers that I know of. You get them into a boat and then they can't get out on their own. So you can row them wherever you want. Going downhill is pretty easy. Going uphill is a little more complicated. I'll show you how to do that really quick. I don't need to because I'm already back at the water. But I'll show you the way that I like to get up is you just do it by water. You place a water source up top and then you have to be a little careful. And yeah, you just row up the water source. Pick it back up. Get back in your boat, and you can't do this up steep inclines, and you can't do it like up multiple levels really quickly, but you can do that to go up if you need to. So we'll get this guy back over to the water and transport him back to our base. Now if you don't have a village nearby, or there's not a good body of water between your base and your village, and transporting the villagers by boat like this isn't an option, you have a couple of other options. You could build a minecart system. So you lure a villager into a minecart the same way I lured it into this boat. Then you can transport it by rail. That's a little tricky because it takes a lot of rails. You need some powered rails to get the minecart going, or else the villager can actually like move the minecart along the rails. And it's a really big pain. I don't like to do that if I can avoid it. The other option is to build a nether portal in the village and connect it up with your nether portal in the nether. When I say connect it up, just build like a road or something between the two nether portals in the nether that's safe, and then you transport them by boat through the nether. So you lure the villager through the nether portal, and then transport them by boat to your nether portal, and then you come out in your base. That wouldn't be a very good option for us because my nether portal is way underground and it would be a big pain to try to get those villagers out of the area where my nether portal is at my base. But that is another option if the village that you find is really far away or there's a lot of rough terrain between you and your base. All right, and we are back. So we'll just slide into our little grotto here. We'll close the trap doors. And so he's already claimed one of these compost job sites. That's good. And unfortunately, I think he claimed my bed. I don't want him to claim my bed. So I put down a bed for him. We'll wait to see if he claims it. There we go. So the little green sparkles means that he's claimed the bed. You can see the green sparkles on the bed. The same thing happens when they claim a job site. They'll get the green sparkles around them and the job site. And so that gives you a visual indication of what thing they've claimed. Now, yeah, I just need to do this one more time because once we have 2 villagers, then we can start breeding them and we don't need to transport any others. So the reason I wanted this thing built so far away from my base is because villagers can actually claim job sites and beds pretty far away. It's something like 70 or 90 blocks. And I didn't want them claiming my bed at my house or any of the job sites at my base. So that's why I built this so far away. In fact, while bringing these villagers over, they actually claimed the job site of the composter that was over by my old field. And so I had to go break that. So what I'm going to do is I want 4 farmer villagers. And once I have a bunch of farmer villagers that have claimed all 4 of these job sites, then we can start breeding up some more. All right, so let's talk about how you breed villagers. To breed villagers, you need 2 things, or rather, the villagers need 2 things. 1, they need food. You can breed them with potatoes, carrots, or bread, maybe beetroots. Yeah, I think you can breed them with beetroots. And so they need 3 bread or 12 of the other crops in order to breed. And so just throw some food at the villagers and they will start breeding once they have enough. The other thing that they need is extra beds. There has to be more beds for more villagers to claim or else they won't start breeding. So we'll give these guys some potatoes, and once they both have enough, they should start making the magic happen. There we go. So once you see the hearts appear, they are ready to go. They'll start breeding. Give it a few seconds, and baby villager. Oh, you're so cute. It cracks me up that there's not a baby villager skin. It's the same skin as a grown-up villager. They're just smaller. And so at this point, this farm is now self-sufficient. We're going to wait a little bit for them to breed one more time, and for both of these villagers to grow up to adults and claim these other 2 job sites. And then we can start putting down more beds. I like to use different colored beds for the farmers that are going to stay here from the other villagers that I'm going to take, just so I know which beds belong to which villagers. Because if I need to break the beds for some reason, I don't want to break the beds of the ones that are going to stay here and cause them to get angry or anything. So yeah, at this point, this villager farm is now self-sufficient. These villagers will plant more crops, and as the crops grow, they will harvest them, and that will provide them with all the food that they need to breed. Villagers, when they are in baby making mode, if they have extra food, they will actually go throw that food at another villager to give them food to breed. And so once you get this farm going, it is completely self-sufficient. So once the other 2 farmer villagers grow up and claim their job sites, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put the rest of these beds down. Depending on how many villagers you want to breed up, will determine how many beds you want to put down, because you will only get as many villagers as you have beds. So if I don't come and put any more beds in here, I'm only ever going to have the 4 farmer villagers. So I'm probably going to put another 10 beds or so in here so that I've got plenty of villagers to choose from for some future builds. But yeah, that's going to do it for the villager farm. Alright guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. We got so much work done today. We built this amazing sugarcane farm that I've already had to harvest a couple of times. and I'm going to keep all the sugar cane in that chest right behind me. We've built 4 amazing crop farms which are starting to come in, and those look really good. I'll come in and harvest all this stuff and replant so that we can fill in the rest of these fields. But this is going to give us all the food that we need to trade with the farmer villagers to get emeralds. And then we built the farmer, or the villager farm, and that will give us all the villagers that we need for future builds that require villagers, so we don't have to go all the way back out to that village on the other map. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I'm having a blast with this series. I'm loving it. I know I've only got a handful of subscribers so far, but that doesn't matter to me. I'm enjoying just the process of making this and putting it out there, and hopefully it is helping you guys out as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. The subscription will help you be notified of future videos that I release, and that way you can stay up to date with my latest content. Thanks guys, and have a great day.